hello there, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Peter Greenberg here with you for our Facebook Global Travel Update. Coming to you this week from San Diego. So it's been a month of S's, Saudi Arabia, Seville, and now San Diego. And of course, you can always reach me. You know how to do that. Just email me on the lines to the right here. You see how you can put your comments in, or you can also email me to Peter at petergreenberg.com with your name, phone number, question, problem, whatever. We will solve it either online or on our radio show, Eye on Travel, which airs every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Check your local listings, of course. If you can't find a station in your market, not a problem. Just go online to our website, hit the radio icon, and we stream it live starting at about 10:05 Eastern Time every Saturday. So much to talk about in the news, so let's get started. Of course, the new rules are in place as of 12:01 a.m. 3 days ago. If you're coming back to the United States, you now need to show a negative COVID-19 test within 24 hours of your return flight home, not 72 hours. And the U.S. will accept a rapid antigen test, which makes life a little bit easier. You get your results much faster. Also, the mask mandate extended now through March, not a surprise, until our vaccination levels in this country go higher, or we get to a point like Canada did, where you cannot get on an airplane or any public transportation without showing proof of vaccination. That's when the mask mandate will probably end. So get used to those masks. We'll be wearing them for a while longer. Other things that are happening, of course, spiking in cases in Germany, in Austria, in the Netherlands, in Switzerland, in Japan. As a result, we're seeing lockdowns. We're seeing Japan telling U.S. airlines not to take reservations for any Americans for the next 2 weeks. We're seeing the Christmas markets basically all closed in Europe. We're seeing Israel shut down for at least 2 weeks. We're seeing Austria shut down. And these are real shutdowns. These aren't just lockdowns like it was in Turkey when I was there, where it was just for locals and they closed the restaurants. It means you can't leave your home. So you need to check with your destination ahead of time to see what the rules are, how they've changed, what the protocols are, or go right to our website, petergreenberg.com. By 6 o'clock tonight Eastern Time, we will post a brand new list of everywhere in the world where you can go and what the rules are. So please check that out. It'll be available online as of about 6 p.m. tonight Eastern Time. Moving on, let me tell you what the Biden administration didn't put on the table last week, although they considered it. What they wanted to do is two things. One, to make a requirement for testing once you came back to the United States within 24 hours. That hasn't happened yet. The other thing that hasn't happened yet, obviously the vaccination mandates still being challenged in the courts. And for the moment, the mandates being held up by the courts and blocking them. So that hasn't happened yet, but don't think it won't if it's led by the private sector and not by the government. We'll have more about that next week. That's a lot of stuff to talk about. Now, has that impacted your travel? You might be surprised to know that in the short term, there have been a few cancellations, but travel is quite resilient. Most travelers that I know are looking at the latest coronavirus variant as part of the new normal. And the anecdotal information that we're getting is that as much as it is highly transmissible, if you've been vaccinated and have your booster, the impact is not severe. It's not resulting in hospitalizations or death. That's very good news to report. And of course, if you've gotten your vaccinations, please get your booster shot for a number of reasons, not just the medical aspects of it, but the rules are changing for many countries. For example, we're coming towards the end of the year right now. If you got your vaccination, let's say in January or February of this year, well, a lot of countries are saying over 1 year, since a vaccination or even a booster, they're not going to let you in. The booster gets you in. So remember that, right? More and more places are requiring proof of vaccination. We're talking any indoor activities, restaurants, stores. So carry it with you. Always keep a copy as well. And this is going to continue for quite some time. So just remember that. Now, I told you I'm from San Diego today. For many, many years, I was the West Coast correspondent for Newsweek based in Los Angeles, but we covered San Diego. And back in the 70s, that's right, I am that old. Back in the 70s, when I was a correspondent for Newsweek, there was an airline based here in San Diego, Pacific Southwest Airlines, lovingly referred to as PSA. They had the smile on the nose of all of their 727s. It was a fun airline. In the days when you didn't call them flight attendants, you called them stewardesses. I'm going to show you an example of that in a second. This is an airline like Southwest where the outfits were sort of revealing. We're talking hot pants and loud colors and a very fun airline. And to give you an idea how times have changed, what would be completely politically incorrect and insensitive today was the rule of the game back then. From 1976, let me show you what a PSA stewardess handed me one day. I still have it. Put it up on the screen. Can you read that? I'll read it for you. They made me a member of the Precious Stewardess Association. I'm serious. And if you can read the membership rules, it was pretty funny. 1976. And in a way, I remember those days very, very well. When you're a young 20-year-old working for a news magazine, flying on an airline in which the tickets were maybe $8 or $12 a ticket. Hopping down to San Diego was a 16-minute flight. They did LA, San Francisco, and Burbank, San Francisco. Then they expanded to Stockton and many other locations around the country. Ultimately bought in the 80s by U.S. Air. And the first thing that U.S. Air did, which will give you an idea of where we are in the airline business today, they took the smiles off the noses of the planes. Many people who flew PSA will remember that well. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I'm still a member, I suppose, ex officio now, of the Precious Stewardess Association. And proud to be. Okay, so much for that. Let's go to some of your questions. Richard says, do I think the lockdowns will affect cruises? I'm booked for an 8-day Carnival cruise, January 29th to the Eastern Caribbean. I do not. Let's talk about that because of what happened earlier this week on Norwegian, one of their ships coming back into New Orleans, where they had 10 reported cases that then grew to like 17 of coronavirus positive tests. It was reported in the media it was an outbreak. It was not an outbreak. They got it right away. They were tested. They were isolated. They were quarantined. There was great contact tracing. It's being handled. The cruise lines learned their lesson back from the days when they weren't learning anything back in the beginning of 2020. And when there's been a case reported, it's handled quickly and I think without incident. So I don't think those lockdowns will happen to you. Although you will see proof of vaccination required on your ships and in the ports. Here's one from Kathy who says, I'm supposed to go to Tanzania and Zanzibar over Christmas. Husband and 2 older daughters. 3 of us are fully vaccinated and boosted. The youngest daughter, 17, only vaccinated but not boosted. Flying Kenya Airways through Nairobi. I realize there are 1 million variables, but should we be able to get there for our safari? What do you think the chances of us getting stuck in Zanzibar are? Well, I'm going to tell you, because guess where I'm going in 10 days? I'm going to Zanzibar in Tanzania. We're just finishing our 1 hour special for PBS, the Royal Tour of Tanzania, with the president. President Hassan, who, by the way, is from Zanzibar. I'll be with her for a couple of days in the middle of the month. And I'm not worried at all, nor should you be. Remember, you wear a mask where you need to wear the mask. You've already been double vaccinated. Some of you have had the booster. You should be fine. But, of course, check with your doctor, not with me. Drew says, greetings from Japan. Lisa Sullivan wants to know, hello from La Mesa, the first city to the east of San Diego. I know La Mesa. By the way, cool thing about San Diego that most people don't know. Does anybody here know about the CBX? Okay. If you're in San Diego, you probably know about it. It was built a couple of years ago. It's brilliant. It's called the Cross-Border Express. It's literally a bridge from San Diego, or actually all the way down on the border, to Mexico. And what does the bridge do? It allows very smart travelers to walk about 900 feet across this bridge. And where does it deposit you? In the middle of the terminal of the Tijuana airport, where the airfares are demonstrably lower than they are in the U.S. Airlines like Volaris, by the way. You can actually fly from Tijuana to Beijing from Tijuana. Think about that. Nobody thinks about that. To give you an idea of airfares, when we first did the story, the airfare from Tijuana to JFK with a stop in Mexico City was $63 on a brand new Airbus. So check it out, the Cross-Border Express. Not far from La Mesa, by the way. Hello from Lansing, Michigan, Lorena says, where there was an apple pie made with a Biscoff crust over Thanksgiving. Don't taunt me, Lorena. You know how much I like that. Greetings from sunny Cambridge. Okay. Sue, hi from St. Lucia. We love St. Lucia. Okay, let's keep going. Good morning, Peter, and welcome to San Diego from John. Right back at you. By the way, I'm here reporting on the United States Tour Operators Association annual meeting. That's all the folks who take you on trips all over the world. And they're meeting with all the suppliers here. I'm learning a lot about what's working and what isn't working. We'll have more about that next week. Evelyn says, good morning from Santa Monica. All right. And you're right about the rule. It's one day before, not 24 hours, meaning, 24 hours is the margin line on the test you need. Patrick Cooney says, greetings from Moab, Utah. I'm going to give you a blast from the past about Moab, Utah. It goes back to my days when I was running dramatic television at Paramount, where we came up with an idea for a 1-hour television show for ABC. I'll tell you who the producer was in a second, but the name of the show was MacGyver. And where did we shoot the pilot? In Moab, Utah. Back then, in Moab, Utah, the definition of sauteed was deep fried. It's gotten a whole lot better. Now I'll tell you a little piece of trivia. Guess who the executive producer of MacGyver was? You'll never guess. Henry Winkler, the Fonz. Okay. Cheerio from snowy Switzerland. Oh, okay, Alexander. Catalina says, hi there, going to Colombia in 10 days to see family, not worried about shutdowns. I'm right there with you. Katie's saying hi from Greenwich. Evelyn says, we need vaccination mandates on flights within the U.S. I agree with you. If one needs proof of vaccination and a negative test between London and New York, it should also require it to board a flight between New York and LA. What are your thoughts? Well, you just heard them. I support that entirely. Okay. Gail says, you posted an article regarding SSSS on your boarding pass. Yes, I know. Does anybody know what that means? You don't want it on your boarding pass. It means you're going to get secondary inspection, and they're going to watch everything. They're going to open everything. It's a full body pat down. How do you get an SSSS on your boarding pass? It goes back to an old protocol that's outdated. It's antiquated, but they still use it. If you make an airline reservation within 24 hours, if you buy only a one-way ticket, or if you pay, God forbid, cash for your ticket, boom, 4 S's on your boarding pass. That means you're a prospective terrorist. Now, listen to this. She said, my husband had this on his boarding pass when we were returning from a Norway cruise. We made the reservation through a travel agent months in advance. We're in our 70s now, but this was just 3 years ago. I guess he looks suspicious to them. Well, you would know. Anyway, but most of the time, if you get 4 S's, it's because of the metrics I gave you. Okay. Karina says, greetings from Florida. Travel and life goes on. It's a shame that U.S. vaccination cards are not valid in Europe because it can't be digitized in their system. That's not true. The vaccination cards are recognized in Europe. They're recognized everywhere. I go there with my card all the time. I do not have a European Union health pass or a health card, and they do recognize them. Just be aware of that. ML says, those were the days PSA was fun. It was fun. It was fun. I guarantee you. It was a fun airline. Larry says, my very first flight was on PSA. Smile, you bet. Okay, Dennis says, hello from Palm Springs, California. Great time at the pickleball tournament in Indian Wells. Had to be fully vaccinated, no exceptions, no COVID test allowed for entrance. We loved it. Yeah, but did you win? All right. Debbie says she's doing her 5th cruise since June on New Year's Eve. Well, happy early New Year's Eve. Carrie says, from the Opal Grand in Delray Beach. Hello, Carrie. My old pal, Carrie. Mary says, I'm fully vaccinated, planning to go to Morocco next month. Should I be worried? No. But again, I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on Facebook either. Check with your physician about your own medical condition or pre-existing conditions. And as long as you're vaccinated and hopefully get your booster shot, you'll be fine. Okay. Here we go. Yep. Michael Anthony knows about the cross-border crossing, the CBX. Check out the Pendry San Diego if you haven't been. I have, Katie. It's a lovely hotel owned by the same guys who run the Montage, for those of you who know it. And there's a great, cool club. This is how I know the Pendry in the basement of the Pendry too, if you like that kind of nightlife. Okay, from MW, do I have a recommendation on when to buy a premium select ticket for September with points? Does the amount of points increase as the flights gets closer? Yeah, it does. Remember, we're dealing in a world of dynamic pricing now, and that's applied to frequent flyer miles as well. If you can get miles redeemed today on a ticket, even if it's for next September, do it. Hold on tight. Get it done. Okay. Kathy says, hope to spy you in Zanzibar. You might. It's a small place. Okay. Good day from lovely Carlsbad from Diana. Nice to see you. Pat says, will I be at the LA Travel Show next year? The answer is yes, I will at the Convention Center. Karen says, coming to you from the skies between Tampa and DFW, what's up with Norway not getting in there anytime soon, am I? Right now, you're not. But look, the economics will certainly take precedence soon enough. They've just got to stabilize their cases. Same problem in Sweden, by the way, right now. But remember, I'd say 15th of January to the 30th of January will be a decision time for Norway. Ellen says, on new U.S. entry requirements, can the test be PCR or antigen? It can be antigen. A rapid antigen is accepted. Karen Jones, hi from LA. I run the Safari company here. Note, Kenya now has added a vaccination requirements for arriving visitors over 18. Good to know. Thank you, Karen. Chris, my friend from Uganda, saying hi about the home of the mountain gorillas, although my friends in Rwanda might argue that point. You have them both. Juan Distis says, I used to work for a major airline, and while I employed, I got SSSS. Congratulations. It's a badge of honor. Okay. David Alperin says, lots of news stories of late of passengers being kicked off flights. Is there a way to persuade an attendant that you're actually not the source of whatever tension they perceived? Basically, how to heal scenario when the flight staff is suspecting you. David, I have to ask the obvious question. Why would they be suspecting you? Did you just pick your nose? Or did you throw something? You know what? Here's my new motto for flying. In fact, it should be the motto for an airline that's going to be more successful than any other airline. Okay? It's not promising something they can't deliver. It's not promising something that you're expecting and you're not going to get. The new motto for all airlines should be, or at least the smart airlines, sit down, shut up, we're going. I get it. Okay. Pat says I got SSSS and have global entry, and I couldn't get tickets reissued by United to remove it. Right, because United can't do that. Once it's on there, it's in the system, and it has to be done. Okay, let's see how here. Oh, Anne says, where can you go in the UK coming back from England that accepts Medicare without paying an export fee at the airport? I have no idea what you're talking about, Anne. Medicare is from the United States. It's not accepted overseas. So if you need to get a medical test or a PCR or a rapid antigen test, try to find a hotel or a resort that will do it as part of your deal. Whatever you do, don't wait to get to the airport because the charges there are exorbitant. But there's a reasonably good chance you're going to have to pay for it. Gary says, on PSA, sadly, I was in San Diego in 1978 when I witnessed PSA Flight 182 crash after a small plane hit it. Gary, I'm sort of sorry you brought that up because I covered that story. It was September 25th, 1978. I know the flight. It was coming down from LA, one of those 16-minute flights, and a small plane with a pilot and an instructor actually hit it from behind in the right under the wing. It crippled the plane. It was a terrible, terrible disaster. Everyone died. And not to get too deep in the weeds here, it was the last time that the National Transportation Safety Board ever publicly released a transcript from the cockpit voice recorder of the last 30 seconds of the flight with the conversations in that cockpit. It was haunting. It was terrifying. And I'm glad they don't release that anymore. But good things came out of that crash, lessons that were learned and then applied, otherwise known as a TCA. Every pilot listening to me now knows what that means, a terminal control area, basically a special area around every major airport in which uncontrolled aircraft, meaning aircraft that are not being controlled by controllers or squawking on their transponders, are allowed to fly. It's a width, it's a width, and it's a height. And thank God it's in the plans now. But it happened because of that crash. That plane never should have been there. And once that PSA plane was hit, they never had a chance. Terrible, terrible story. September 25th, 1978. And what got me very angry about that crash was when I was at Newsweek. I left Newsweek in 77, but in early 77, three major pilots from three major airlines came to me, from Western Airlines, from United, and from, what was the third one? American. No, Western. It was Western, United, and I forget. But they told me about their concern about the approach to San Diego's Lindbergh Field, that there was too many small planes in the region, nobody was controlling them, and they were worried about a collision. And I said, we should do a story about that. And I actually went with them. They got one of their planes in the air, not a commercial plane, a private plane piloted by one of these commercial airline pilots, and we flew the approach into Lindbergh Field, and they were absolutely right. And I will share with you the story. It's going to be in my book, I guarantee you. I sent a suggestion to Newsweek saying, look, this is an accident waiting to happen. We need to talk about this because it's happened other airports as well. They're not controlling the airspace around the airports. And the response from Newsweek, from one of the editors, was, I still have it. Great suggestion on Lindbergh Field, but the editors here would rather wait until there's a crash. I'm not making that up. How angry was I on September 25th, 1978, when the PSA plane happened? And if you go back and look at Newsweek the following week, I was no longer at the magazine. There was one line in their story that got me even angrier. And that line was, the approach problems at Lindbergh have long been known. No kidding. Anyway, I'm still hot about that, but thank you for reminding me about that story. Okay. Karina says, U.S. vaccination cards are not accepted at special events in Sweden. Right now, Karina, nothing's accepted in Sweden. They're very weird in Sweden. Remember Sweden? They were the ones who made a public statement that we're not going to wear masks. It's all going to be herd immunity. Well, take a look at the number of cases in Sweden now. And what was their response to that? They banned us. Right now, I'm boycotting Sweden until they get to their senses. So that's just me. Okay. Hello from Atchison, Kansas. Hello, Willie. Patricia Bradley, any news on Canil Bay St. John reopening? We'll get that for you. Anthony will get that on. My assistant, Anthony, will get on that, and we'll get you an answer. Not today, but we'll get you an answer by next week. Or maybe online. We'll do it as fast as we can. Joan says, I'm leaving for Ohio to care for my sister after surgery. I bought a one-way ticket only because I do not know my return date. Sounds unfair to mark me as SSSS. They need to have a conversation with folks before making broad assumptions. Hello. The TSA is all about broad assumptions, which is why most of what they do doesn't work. It's security theater. The TSA, to me, even with the best of intentions, stands for what? Taking scissors away or thousands standing around. You know what? I told you this algorithm was old and it was outdated, and it still is. Mary Brandt says, hi, right back. Sue Silverman Abrams says, Wisconsin. Okay. Not going to the Rose Bowl this year, but let's hear it for Big Blue Michigan. They beat us in October, but what did they then do a couple of weeks later? The impossible. They destroyed Ohio State, and then they beat Iowa for the Big Ten championship. Go Blue in the Orange Bowl. And by the way, I'm a Badger, and I'm rooting for Michigan. Okay. Ann says, I'm staying with friends, not a hotel. I know they don't take Medicare in the UK. Then Ann, then why did you ask the question? I'm confused. Tell me more. Evelyn, if you are planning to travel to Switzerland, check carefully the regulations. Regulations change right now on a weekly basis. You're right. So check our website tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll have it posted on all the countries that we know about. Okay. Okay, here's one from Barbara. I hope it's the right name. Barbara, we were scheduled to fly to London last week on Air Canada, was told 2 days of quarantine on arrival, then COVID test would take 2 to 6 days for results. What a joke. Only scheduled the week, so missed the trip being in quarantine. Now dealing with Booking.com and Air Canada and ultimately our travel insurance. UK is not visitor friendly anymore. Hey, guess what? UK is not visitor friendly since the pandemic started. But here's the thing. If you're going to book right now, use a travel agent, not an online agency. Use a credit card. Don't pay cash. Use a U.S. carrier because they will get you a refund. May I remind you that Air Canada refused to give refunds for over a year and a half. They were finally fined a proposed $25.5 million by the U.S. Department of Transportation. They mitigated that down. to 4.5 million, and they're now giving refunds. But if I'm going to fly overseas right now, I'm going to take a U.S. carrier because they've gotten rid of those draconian ticket change fees, and they're on notice from the DOT. They have to give refunds if the trip is canceled because of this. You're not going to lose your money that way, okay? Okay, here's Roseanne saying, doing my 7th cruise, New Year's Eve on Celebrity, but leaving Friday for the Scarlet Lady, the new Virgin ship. Excited to see what it's all about. Rumors have it that Italy has experienced rises in COVID. Any validity to that? Yes. Europe's getting a lot of rising in cases. And by the way, if you're going on the Scarlet Lady, which is the new Virgin Cruises ship, just one piece of advice. You know what they have on this ship? A tattoo parlor. Think about it. You're at sea. There's a lot of alcohol. What could go wrong? So something tells you that tattoo parlor makes you sign a huge waiver. Otherwise, you'll come out saying Winona forever. There's a piece of trivia for you. Okay. All right. Listen to this. BJ Stokey says, took your advice and did a chat online with Delta to revise my return flight from Paris because of the one-day COVID test required now. The agent was amazing, and because I was kind, she got me upgraded to first class on the return. This is for a February trip. Talking with the agents directly works. My point entirely. All right, BJ, nicely done. Here's one from Tom. I have tickets for Paris, France, the first week of April. Tell me some good news. Here it is. You're going to Paris and you're going in April. Relax. You're going to get there. Okay. My friend Captain Jonathan Atkin, great photographer, by the way. Hello from the home port of Queen Mary II, arriving in New York City on December 20th. Okay. Sue, have to quarantine in the BVI for staying in a villa. Hey, if you got a quarantine, villa's not such a bad idea. Okay. Anna's saying, thinking about canceling my trip to the UK since I do not want to pay an exorbitant fee for the test back to the USA. My friends in the UK cannot tell me what to do. It's very simple. You don't have to stay at a hotel to call them and to find out what they're charging for a test. Call the concierge at any hotel and ask for where they're giving free tests or discount tests. It's an easy thing to figure out. And if your friends in the UK can't make that call, you make the call. You can even go online and find out those resources and then make the call from that, okay? Any reason why the Grand Egyptian Museum keeps pushing opening date? They keep doing it, I know. Believe it or not, I'm seeing the Egyptian Minister of Tourism tonight here in San Diego. As luck would have it, I'll ask him that question and get you that answer. Okay, Evelyn says, thank you for always supporting us. You're talking about being a travel agent. Listen, if anybody proved their worth during the pandemic, it was travel agents. They became our advocates, and they made no money doing it. In fact, they lost money getting refunds. They lost their commissions. But you know what? Good idea to have one and always use one. And remember, we live in a world of specialization. The days of the mom and pop travel agency that sent you on a cruise and sent your kid to college and did a business trip, those days are over. We live in a world of specialization. Travel agents that are really good specialize. I have 5 of them that I use for different reasons, and you should do it as well. Angie says, I went on a cruise on Princess and Thanksgiving, and it was the best. The ship felt empty, 1/3 passengers. They were extremely careful with hand washing and anything else. Now's the time to do it. We all know that 2022 is going to be full for the cruise lines. And now it's time to remind you of something I forgot to tell you about the last time we did this, and I should have done it. Do you know last week it was the 50th anniversary? Now it's time for us to feel really old. It was the 50th anniversary of D.B. Cooper, November 1971, on a Northwest 727 in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, the case has never been solved, even though some of the money was found. But that's the D.B. Cooper story. And great movies have been done about it, great mythology, great folklore, and it's a great story to tell. That was one anniversary 50 years ago, at the end of November. And just 6 days ago, a sad anniversary, actually December 4th. So just a couple of days ago, that was 30 years ago. I wrote about it on my website and posted it on Facebook as well. On December 4th, 1991, a 727 flew from Barbados to Miami. And when that 727 landed, that marked the last and final flight of the legendary Pan American. 30 years ago this month, the airline ceased to exist as we knew it. The original U.S. flag carrier that trailblazed all the routes around the world. I remember taking it on Flight 1 and Flight 2. Those are the real original eastward or westward bound round the world flights. I was on every one of their 747s, many of their 707s, even the 747 SPs to Hong Kong. I love that airline. I love the people who work for that airline. I felt special flying that airline. I know many of you did as well. I was very sad to see it go. I wish they could bring it back. They won't. It has existed as sort of a charter carrier because somebody owns the name, but it's not the same. If you're ever in New York, go to the Aviation Museum at the Pan Am Foundation out in Queens. Check it out. There's great legends out there and great stories to be told. I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Like the last flight out of Vietnam, that was a Pan Am flight. They did a movie about it. Al Topping, remember the name Al Topping? He was the station manager in Saigon who helped so many people. Of course, the sad stories of Pan Am 103 over Lockerbie, but other amazing stories of trips all around the world. And I just wanted to commemorate that with you today. If you get a chance, look it up and start reading about that legendary airline, the original clipper ships that used to fly out of LaGuardia in the water and would go to Hong Kong and all across the Pacific. The original clippers in the water, the big, big seaplanes. And of course, the original, the very first 707, right? The one that made the inaugural flight from New York to Paris. And then, of course, the very first 747, which was christened by Pat Nixon in 1969. The original 747, that was Pan Am. It was an airline of firsts and foremosts, and it will be gone, but it will not be forgotten. All right, let's now go to the photo of the week. Ta-da! Let's do it. And there it is. Anybody want to guess where this was taken? No one's going to get this one right. So I'll help you. It was taken in a national park. Any guesses? Okay. No more guesses? In Iceland. This is the Thingvellir National Park in Iceland, taken by Gwen Strutzenberg. Congratulations, Gwen. Love the light there. Love the peace in that photo. And of course, she says it's a place of exceptional beauty. Iceland is so worth the trip. I agree with you. Even in the winter months, when you're challenged by light, still worth it to go. Let's go to some of the questions that you sent in. Phil, when do I think the ban on South Africa will be lifted? Probably not till February or later. But remember, that's a ban of incoming, not necessarily us going there. Bethany, 4 of us plan on taking a trip to England last week in March. Should we wait to book flights? A friend said we may have to quarantine for 10 days. We are vaccinated and had our booster. Look, book it on a U.S. carrier. I just told you this. And let's see what happens. Roll the dice. You can take a calculated risk if you do it that way. Linda, what does it mean if countries are suddenly level 4? France, Tanzania. Don't get me started on level 4 and State Department advisories. Based on the metrics they use for level 4, San Diego's a level 4. My bedroom's a level 4. Stop this. You can't have a level 4 applying. They even have a level 4 to Antarctica. Are the penguins frothing at the mouth and glowing in the dark? They are not. It's just, this is silly. It's the State Department silliness and it's CDC silliness. If you really want good information, and I know I'm angering people at the State Department, and I don't care because my experience dictates otherwise, I'll read all their advisories. Don't get me wrong. I read every one of them, but I have to put them in context. The advisories I read are the ones from the British Foreign Office, which you can get online. The ones that they send to their citizens, I actually think they do a better job. And if the British Foreign Office gives you their version of level 4, I pay attention. To me, a level 4 should only be applied to a place where no one's in control and your life's in immediate danger. France and Tanzania doesn't put me in immediate danger. Getting on the Madison Avenue bus can put me in immediate danger. Get it? All right, that's your answer. All right. Chris wants to know, Peter, what's the best trip you've ever taken? I'm going to give you the corniest answer in the world, but I have to tell you it's the one I believe in. My definition of my very favorite place, my very favorite trip I've ever taken, is any trip I've taken with someone I'm in love with. I warned you it was corny, but I believe it. Remember, by definition, travel is an experience meant to be shared. And if you can share it with somebody you're in love with, memorable. And I'm looking forward to more. Okay, Darlene, I planned a trip. I want to plan a trip the week of January 4th with my 21-year-old daughter, somewhere warm, relaxing, spa, and fun adventure, historical excursions options. Do I know of a great last-minute deal that I can plan now? Yes. Here's the answer. You gave me the magic date, January 4th. That's when fares plummet again. Between now and the end of the year, give it up. Don't even try. It's out of control, law, supply, and demand, outrageous airfares. Starting January 4th, people are recovering from New Year's. That's the dead week. So my answer to you generally, Darlene, is you can go anywhere then. But what you haven't told me is how far you want to travel, how many days you want to spend, and how much money you want to spend. So get me that question, and I'll give you a much more specific answer. Rachel says, I'm planning to travel to Italy in January. Can I use an at-home test kit result, or do I need to get a full PCR test to enter the EU from America? Well, my understanding is what they need from you, depending on the country, is if you're fully vaccinated, you may not need a test. You do need the test to come home, however. So please double check on a country-by-country basis. Again, go to our website, petergreenberg.com tonight. It starts at 6 o'clock. We're going to list what you need for every single country, with the asterisk, subject to change. Okay. Bob says, in your experience, what's the best dining option in London? Could you be any more general, Bob? I mean, what kind of food? Chinese, Indian, Thai, right? British. Yes, there's some good English food. Give me a more specific question, and I'll get you an answer. Melissa, do children need to be vaccinated on cruises too? What age is the vaccine requirement for now? It varies by cruise line, and we'll get you that answer online. Anthony will swing into action, and we'll get that for you, okay? Sarah, I'm having a hard time finding an at-home test in my area and wanted to bring one with me when I travel through Europe. Are at-home tests easily accessible in Portugal and Spain? The answer to your question is, I don't know, and we will find that out. I'm not a fan of the at-home tests. I just don't like it. I want to get physically tested, and I'm not just going to use my phone. I'm going to hold a piece of paper in my hand. I'm going to do a printout. When in doubt, I know it's not politically correct and saving forests, I hit the print button. And let's go back to see if we have any more of your questions today. Hold on, I'm going to scroll down. Oh yeah, we got more. Okay. Jonathan Atkins already giving you London recommendations. The Roux Brothers, the Waterside Inn, absolutely correct. If you like Indian food in London, Red Fort on Dean Street, the Walsley, right across from the Ritz. And of course, don't laugh. I love the noodle place, Wagamama. Don't laugh at me. That's for London. Robin saying hello from Williamsburg. Yeah, we were missing you, Robin. You just came in on board. Okay. Okay. The State Department declared Slovenia a level 4 in July. I was there and it was perfect. My point exactly, Evelyn. Karen, I'm glad you liked my level 4 answer. Okay. Thoughts about going to Quito? I don't have a problem with it. Remember, you also want to check out Guayaquil. You want to get out into all of the areas there, not just Quito. Use that as your hub. Okay, here we go. Captain Atkins said, my dad arranged the first New York City to Moscow Pan Am flight. Interesting story about that, Jonathan. When Pan Am failed and Delta took over all their routes, how many of the original Pan Am routes did Delta end up flying within a year of taking over those routes? 2. Everything else fell apart because nobody in Europe had ever heard of Delta. They knew Pan Am. It was the legendary American carrier. The 2 routes that Delta kept, New York to Moscow and New York to Nice. Little piece of trivia there. Karen Jones says the Snake River. Yep, that was D.B. Cooper. Karen says my first trip to Africa in 1987 was on Pan Am to Rio, Brazil, and then South Africa to Joburg. Oh, very nicely done. All right. Here we go. I'm going through. Demetra says, my daughter is getting married in Greece July of 2022. We'll be able to fly there. Remember, Greece was the first country this year to open up back in May. They did a great job of testing their own people and to vaccinate their own people who would come in contact with this. And they're going strong. Okay. Marlene wants to know, do U.S. citizens need to be fully vaccinated when re-entering the U.S. from Mexico? No, but you have to do that 24-hour COVID test and it better be negative. Bob says, I tuned in late. Have we talked about Thailand status? It's open. And so is Cambodia. Funny story about Cambodia. Cambodia had a requirement during the pandemic that the only way they'd let you go was if you quarantined, if you put up an insurance bond for health insurance, and get this, I think it was $3,500 that you'd have to put up a deposit in case you died to pay for your funeral and cremation. Gee, what a welcoming thought. Well, they've come to their senses. They've vaccinated an overwhelming percentage of their population. And as of this month, actually last month, guess what? Cambodia is open. I'll be going there next month. And I'll be going to Thailand next month as well. Okay. I think we've got everybody here. So let me give you some housekeeping reminders. Our show Hidden Turkey still on the air, both on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and PBS. Travel Detective Season 8 starts next year, which is next month. Season 7. Season 8 we're shooting now. And of course, our radio show this Saturday, which is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's CBS Eye on Travel. And if you miss it, it's a podcast available as of next Tuesday, always about 3 days late on that. And of course, have a great rest of your week. Remember, plan now for January when the fares drop. It's going to be a buyer's market once again. Gas prices are thankfully coming down. Have a great rest of the week. And next week, I believe we're going to see you on Tuesday because I'll be traveling the rest of the week. So Facebook Live will be coming next week from another U.S. location, somewhat colder than this one, on Tuesday, same time, 12 noon Eastern. Thanks to Anthony Protus Chung, my assistant. Thanks to you for watching. Be safe, everybody. I'll see you next week.